Hey guys, it's Angel and welcome back to the channel, and today we're looking at a very different aircraft. This is something that is near and dear to my heart. It is a small, kind of rough terrain area commuter aircraft. Now, not quite bush, but they serve a lot of really rough areas, and this one is a bit of an oddball because whilst it is Embraer's most popular and successful commercial aircraft they've ever made, the Embraer 110 Bandeirante, I think it is pronounced. I have butchered that one, I guarantee you. The Bandeirante. Yeah, there we go. This one is by NextGen Sim, and it is just released. It is a 200 knot, about 20 seat commuter aircraft, and depends on the configuration. This is the EMB 110P1. As you can see, it's got a cargo door. The pack includes, as I'll show you now, the passenger version, dedicated passenger, the 110P. P1 being the quick change combi, this version, and a dedicated cargo model, which I believe is the K. Either way, this comes with loads of liveries and a lot of options, and it kind of snuck up on us. There was some news it was being developed, but not much about it. Where are we? Chagual, Peru. This is, I feel, an appropriate aircraft for something, airport for something like this. Let's take a look at her. So, of course, the predecessor to the EMB 120, or the Brasilia, that is most popular, of course, and the Brazilian Air Force still operates the modernised version of this, the 110. Now, it served a lot of airlines, including in the US, UK, Europe, and North America in general, but most popular in South America. The 110, it's like the snub-nosed, stubby 120, and for that reason I like it. I think it just looks a little cuter. Is that the right word to use? Yeah. This thing is adorable, if an aircraft could be called that. Now, inside, would I call this 112% top next-gen texture? Yes and no. I think it's great. I think it's just fine. I mean, we haven't got control over things like the sun visors, but nearly everything else in the aircraft works. We have, if I click here, and then click there, a electronic flight bag controlling things like my wheel chocks, like my traffic cones, engine covers, pitot covers, and I can click on all those items, which is kind of cool, if I'm honest. I'm not sure why it won't let me do it right now. I'm pretty sure my parking brake is on. Let me just check that. Could be because we're on a slight incline. I'm guessing that's probably the reason. Yeah. So we have abilities for chocks, traffic cones, engine covers, pitot covers, doors, cargo doors, all the works you could possibly want in an aircraft in terms of its ground functionality. And you can even set this back to its clock mode, which is just nice to have it there. Maybe a functionality with the VFR map would be cool, or some other features, but for now, not bad. Price? Not cheap, about 35 euros. So, for something that's relatively uncommon aircraft and slightly unknown, it's a little expensive perhaps. Though I will say that the texturing isn't bad, and it doesn't look terrible at all. Let's get this thing started up. Let's put ourselves up to regular battery power. Let's get our AC bus bars on. Fuel is on. There we go. Throttle back here. And, oh, hello, camera. Let's start the engines. Now, the aircraft has the ability to go full by the checklists and fly this as the real thing. And it also has a lot of some simplified functionality to make it an easier, fun plane to fly, which is cool. Now, of course, it has got the native 530 and 430 functionality in the sim, which makes life a lot easier. And as our engines come online here, looking good. We've got come up on the engines there. Nice. We'll set our starters back to normal, because they drain a lot of battery power. Inertial seps, generators on. Okay. There we go, got the lighting we need for the aircraft. Full icing simulation systems up there. We have, of course, the interior of the aircraft behind us. And a useful glare shield camera, if not a little bit too close. They've actually bothered to place the cameras correctly, which is a good start. Oh, there we go. And I'm not sure why that wasn't registering. Maybe it will now because I've actually got the aircraft stopped, technically, according to the simulator. Engine sounds are actually quite nice. For a PT6, they do sound reasonable. I'll give it that. Now, why won't you let me open this now? Right. I'm pretty sure there's a button that I didn't press, or I did press. I hover around it, but I think mustn't like the aircraft being turned on now. Either way, let's get this thing going. Now, this airport is 3,300 feet. I needed 2,800, so it's going to be a fine margin, and it is confined, as you may know of Chigual, Peru. It is a tiny little place, and it is not the sort of place you want to be faint-hearted. But when's that stopped me? Okay, so let's get ourselves turned around here, and get ourselves taxied out to the very small single runway up in the Peruvian highlands to give this thing a proper flight test. Ground handling is fantastic. The aircraft behaves itself. And I will say from a quick test flight earlier, it's responsive. Now we'll taxi ourselves out to the runway. I'm not sure I like the panel lines on the textures, but, you know, could have been worse. Okay. Let's get ourselves taxied out here. This is going to be a little spicy, I think. Okay, runway 32. Hold the brakes fully. Go to full power, because we're going to need it. Engines are up and away. Let's do this thing. It's a little spirited on the torque on initial roll, but I will say actual performance of the simulator is really nice with this aircraft. It's really fluid, no problems whatsoever. Airspeed's coming up. And we're running out of runway, but we're going to clear up into the air. Nice. Gears coming up. And we're going to have to roll immediately to starboard to follow the river valley. Pull those flaps. This is a tight way in here. Pull the power back a little bit now. We don't need it quite as much. And we are, of course, taking off at 4,500 feet, so this is no sea level airport. So I needed a bit more runway than perhaps would have done at sea level, but the aircraft climbs out just beautifully. It is a very drony, noisy little aircraft, but PT6s are really noisy, so it fits pretty nicely. Now, we're going to head out just past the choke here in the canyon, and we're going to flip around and come back in. It's going to be a fairly short flight, and this is going to have to be some bush sketchiness on my part to bring this baby in, but we'll do just fine. So I'm going to manage my speed, keep it down here. We don't want it to be too aggressive. And we're going to have to use some reverse when we come in to stop, because this will be a little bit of a carrier landing. We'll have to come in and we'll have to go full beta, almost probably before we touch down. So we've got a nice wide opening in the canyon up ahead. Bring the aircraft round. And the handling is really responsive. Autopilot systems are really good. Of course, we have our full transponder, which is actually operational. And you do have to have it actually turned on, not just dialed to the sim frequency. So if you are flying this with default AI, ATC, and you wonder why the ATC is telling you to change your transponder even though you've pressed the button, it has to be turned on. Right, so we're putting the gear down now so I don't forget it later. And we're going to set a notch of flaps here, just to give us some control over the lower speed we're going to have coming down the valley. Aircraft responds beautifully. Roll it around here. There we go. And we'll follow the river up the canyon to just ahead. If we look out my window here, this is ballpark of where we're heading to. But the runway is going to be more like that, so going to let it just nicely drift in here. Bring the power back. We're going to cruise it in at about 100 knots or 90 knots as we come down here. We don't want to get too crazy with the airspeed and the altitude. We want to lose some of the latter. And we are gaining speed, so pull the prop pitch back. Let's coarsen it up and give us a bit more resistance here. We're going to try and lose altitude too. Let's give it a bit of a helping hand with the altitude component, shall we? Let's sideslip a commuter plane. Well, what could go wrong with this? Pull the nose up to bleed some speed. If I drop below the altitude I need, I can pull up and lose some more speed, which will help me as we are ditching some airspeed now. I think this runway is going to come up on me sooner than I think it is. I think it's just around this bend, so I need to be on my toes for this. But where better to test a South American commuter plane going into some really nasty little airfields than in a nasty little airfield in South America? It feels just right, doesn't it? There we go. Okay, where are we coming into? There's the runway. Holy crap, we're not going to make that. Yeah, that's kind of immediately in front of us, so we had to be much, much lower for that. And I'm pretty positive we only have one way in there, so we're going to come back, and we're going to do that again. Because you don't want to watch me going around the whole way, do you? No. No one wants that. Back for round number 2 here, so we're a little bit slower and a lot lower. But I need to kill both of those things, so we're going to just dunk this baby down a little bit more as we come into the valley mouth here. As I come off the rudder pedal, it's going to snap me around, so this will actually be beneficial to our turn. There we go. We'll give it another notch of flaps here. And we shall come around the headland up ahead right towards our runway approach. So we need to be kind of careful with this. We're sticking about 100 knots here, so I want to manage my power on the engines, keep the nose a little high. Keep myself aware of my stall speed, which is we're rapidly coming up on, so I need to basically give this some more power. Just to kind of pick the nose up and stop the aircraft being quite as wallowy. I want to come right across these trees here, which is a little hairy. Maybe this aircraft's a tiny touch big for this airfield, but we can make it, not a problem. So, okay, round this outcrop up ahead is where we're going to be turning in to the left, and that will be our destination. So let's make sure we kill off that speed here and get ready for a turn. A little bit more power. That's what we want. Just bite the nose up a little bit more. Come on. That's it, baby. You got this. And we're ready to turn now. That's our runway right ahead. We're looking good here. Just working those throttles. Coming in over the river now, banking it in. Traffic pattern, what's one of those at an airport like this? What is a traffic pattern? Tell me again about your lovely, perfect box pattern. Because I'd love to find out about it. Little bit off to the right. But you know what? I won't criticize myself for that, considering the size of this place. On my second attempt ever to land at this airport, I might add, having never flown anything else in here other than the Embraer 110, I'ma call that a win, if you don't mind. Because I've never flown anything in here besides this. This is my first landing here and my second attempt. I'll just give myself a little round of applause whilst you guys think I'm an idiot, but either way, the aircraft is really forgiving. Like, I was pushing it there, and I'm flying by instinct, flying by feeling, and the aircraft did what I wanted. It didn't behave strangely in any way whatsoever. It didn't have any weird or annoying tendencies. It just did its job, which was quite nice. Now, let me get this thing parked properly, and hopefully I can actually open some of the features for you before the end of this video. Okay. Parking brake is set. Oh, now those things do want to come on. which is kind of awkward when the engines are running. So let's shut those down. Okay. Generators off, inverts to off, battery to off, go away, flight simulator menu. Let's pop the doors and the cargo door. And as you can see here, we have our cones, we have our chocks, we have pitot covers, engine covers, intake covers, exhaust covers. Our combi door is open there, so the fat person in the back seat can get out very easily, and or the several goats we have in the back cargo hold. This is a really lovely plane, and I can't express that enough, as I'm going to take us into the super duper duper fly around mode, because I just love this little thing. Look at it. It's tiny, but it's adorable. It handles like a Cessna that's on steroids. It behaves itself beautifully, and whilst I'm not a huge fan of the ridiculously crazy rivets, they're not as visible on white liveried aircraft. They look just fine because they look like that, so you have to be really close. Maybe I'll do some liveries for this thing where I put the rivet layer under the paint colour and actually overlay it rather than just slapping them together. But this is a nice little plane. I don't feel like I wasted $35. The windscreen effects work in the rain and the ice and the snow. The 3D modelling is actually kind of beautiful. Look at this thing. That's just nice. Should we go inside? I think we should. Oh, hello, camera. Slow down. There we go. It's not a lot, but it's just the things I'd want. Yeah, it's not PMDG, maybe it's not Carenado, but you know what? I can forgive its little not perfect features, because it's kind of cool. And there haven't been many aircraft that have come out in 2020 that I think are kind of cool. There have been some interesting ones, a couple of ones I've really wanted, but this is kind of cool. There was only ever one of these for FSX, and I'm pretty sure it was an FS 2004 port. I really like it. I recommend this. This is fun. 10 out of 10. I'm not going to say IGN again because I did that last time. So I will say, in the sake of Spinal Tap, this is 11 out of 10. Because 11's better. I like it. I think you should buy it. By the way, just for context, I have not been sponsored by this company. They didn't give it to me. I bought this out of my own money. Yeah, I like it a lot. And it does the stupid things I want it to do. So that's great. Thanks for watching, folks. Bye.